하나, 둘, 셋. 안녕. Today I'm going to be doing the part 2 of breaking down Ad Genius by Going 17. And if you haven't, you can watch the first part here. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so let's pick up right where we left off. So after Dino tells Seungwan like write, Seungwan he like kind of pretends the chopsticks are like a brush and he starts to write out shin, and 신라면 is, so shin is 매울 shin, so this is saying like spicy, so this is why 신라면 is known to be spicy. And when Dino says 나는 김치를 썰겠다, he's changed the 떡 to kimchi because every Korean knows this, but you have to eat ramen with kimchi. When Eskus makes Seungwan get the water for the ramen, the caption reads 오늘은 내가 신라면 요리사. And this is actually a line from a really old ad for 짜파게티. And the original line is 오늘은 내가 짜파게티 요리사. So the line was actually originally 일요일은 내가 짜파게티 요리사, and that means on Sundays I'm the cook of I'm making 짜파게티. The line that they used in this episode is from a more recent ad from like 2002, and the ad was like these two kids were kind of pushing their parents off, and they were saying like, oh, you relax, on Sundays we'll be the cooks, we'll be the chefs. So the little boy says 오늘은 내가 짜파게티 요리사. So they were trying to promote it as like a very easy ramen so that even kids can make. So they were kind of pushing for that very simple and fun, family-friendly food. And actually the boy that you just saw in the ad became an actor called Baek Sung-hyun. So you can go check him out in his shows. Hoshi comes up with the idea that is not really liked by the other members, but he keeps saying 함께라면, 너라면, 나라면. And 라면 can mean like the food, the noodles, but in Korean, if you put 라면 next to something, it means like if you say like 모모라면, like 함께라면, it's saying like if. So Hoshi said 함께라면, so that's like if we are together. 너라면 if it's you, 나라면 if it's me. So he's trying to do like a play on words because 라면 can be used in two different ways. While Hoshi is kind of trying to advocate for his idea, Do-kyung keeps saying like he's not very responsive. So the caption says like 영혼 1g, 2g, 3g. So in Korean, when someone's talking, it's really common for you to just react to them and be like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea or whatever. But sometimes, not on purpose or anything, but just to be polite, people would just be like, and like they'll say 영혼 없는 reaction. So that's like you're not sincere at all about it. So when they say like 영혼 1g, that's saying like Do-kyung is barely showing any sincerity in his answers. And then at the end, when he says, oh, that idea was so bad, he says 영혼 듬뿍. So there, 듬뿍 means like a lot. So they're saying he was very sincere in that moment. And then Hoshi comes up with another idea where he's trying to cheer up his friend, and Dino's like acting really sad and whatever. And when Hoshi's holding the ramen and trying to get Dino to eat it, the caption says 먹죽대고. This is another abbreviated word or phrase, and it's 먹고 죽은 귀신이 때깔도 곱다. This means a person that ate just before they died still has a pretty outward appearance. So the main message of this is saying like you should eat in any situation, like eating, you have to eat to stay healthy. And this is why like Hoshi is trying to make Dino eat, like, oh, even if you're troubled, you should still be eating. Changwan comes up with a more out-of-the-box idea because he actually uses the food to play, and he says 공기나 한번 해볼까? And 공기 is a traditional Korean game where you have these like small kind of beads, I guess, and you kind of toss them out onto the ground and you throw one up, and while it's in the air you have to grab one from the floor and catch the one that's falling from the air. So this is just a lot of this is a fun game to just play with your friends. and a lot of people become really skilled, and there's like certain levels where you have to catch like 2 or 3, and then you have to like flip it into your hand. Joshua comes up with a very unique idea of using the ramen noodles as hair extensions. So when he's like walking around, and Jeongwon and Seungwon are like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." The caption is Peppy, and this is another abbreviated word. I think you can probably get the trend that Koreans love abbreviating things. Peppy stands for fashion people. So it makes sense, but it doesn't really make sense, but they're just referring to someone who has really good style. The second product that they have to advertise is Jinlo soju. And soju is a Korean alcohol, and Jinlo, they're actually Chinese characters. So Jin is 참진, so this means like true, and 로 is like 이슬로, so this is like morning dew, so it's like real morning dew, so it's trying to refer to like the freshness of it. And there's actually another alcohol that's targeted more for younger generations, so it's called 참이슬, and it's basically the same thing, the 참진 and 이슬로. And I don't think you need to know why I know so much about soju. Anyways, so let's move on to the more PG definition. So 진로 can also mean path. So this is why Hoshi, in the upcoming moments, he'll kind of do a play on words for this one too. So Hoshi and Dino are again Dino's troubled, and Hoshi's trying to cheer him up, and he says, 혹시 진로가 고민되니? And he's asking Dino like, oh, are you concerned about your future, like your path? And then he presents the soju and says, 너의 진로야. And here he's saying, this is your soju, like this is your drink, but this is also your path. And this is kind of a dangerous thing. So the caption underneath says, 지나친 음주는 뇌졸중, 기억력 손상이나 치매를 유발합니다. This is an actual warning that's on these soju bottle labels. And just before they move on to the next product, you can see Hoshi going like this on the bottom of the bottle, and this is just a weird thing that Koreans do with soju bottles. Like, it's kind of like a ceremonial thing that you have to do. There's also a pretty famous video of Taeyong, or V from BTS, going like, he's doing some crazy things with the soju bottle, and it's just like a fun thing that people do, and it just kind of lightens up the mood and gets everyone excited. When they're advertising the gochujang, or the red pepper paste, the full name of it is 태양초 gochujang, which means like the peppers have been dried out in the hot sun, and then that's how the flakes were made, and then that's how the paste was made. So then when they realized that 태양 it was a lyric in their song My My, and that part where they say 저 태양 위로, that's Dino's line. So when they hand it over to Dino to kind of take the stage, he says like 태양, 태양, and next to him there's like these pictures of 태양 from Big Bang. So 태양 originally the original meaning is the sun, but it's also the name of one of the singers in Big Bang. The next part is when Do-kyum he's acting as a kid, and he's pretending to or he's getting the gochujang and like smearing it over his lips and his teeth, and then he suddenly breaks out of character, and you'll see the words 현타, and that stands for 현실 자각 time, and it basically means like you're kind of slapped in the face with reality. Like, you'll be doing something that's kind of stupid or silly, and you'll just feel so embarrassed, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, what am I doing? Next is when Jeongwon is trying to refuse getting the gochujang put on his eyebrows, and Seungwon is trying to convince him that it's gonna come out fine, and as he's saying it, the captions niun niun appears above his head. And this is really similar to the abbreviated hi that I went over before. Here, no in Korean is just niun and o. So they took out the bottom characters again to just leave it with the niun, and that just stands for no. There's still a bit more that I have to go over because the video is so long, so I'll see you guys in part 3. 안녕! 하나, 둘, 셋!